We say hello, friend, to our friend Jim Nantz once again. How are you, Jim?
I am still on such a high.
Thankfully,
I got a little rest last night to get reloaded and prepared for tonight's follow-up to that. But, man, it feels so good to be here in Indianapolis, to have the championship game tonight, the Masters this week. And thanks for replaying that call. You know, every time I hear it, I've only heard it a handful of times. I pick up on a little thing here and there, and I heard Raft just a moment ago say something about with a little kiss, and I remember coming back now on the broadcast because I haven't obviously watched the broadcast again, but I did say within seconds of that, Raft, that's the biggest kiss you've ever seen in your basketball career, and he agreed.
Of course, it was
a bank shot. It's a kiss,
and we you know, Jim, we do throw around the terms instant classic quite a bit because, you know, certainly in this day and age. Last year plus that we're hungry for it. We're hungry for those moments where, you know, I was telling the story. I'm sitting with my 10-year-old son. I demanded he put his iPad down to watch overtime, and you know, and we both, you know, got up off the couch together. And this truly was, however, an instant classic. Where does this rank for you, Jim?
Well, I think for me, in terms of games that I've ever called, I think it's the best one I've ever called in basketball. And I think that it's going to rank overall as maybe the greatest basketball game of the modern era. Now, I don't have the data points to go back and look at 1957 North Carolina and Kansas with Wilt Chamberlain going to 3 overtimes in the championship game. I don't have that. I wasn't born yet. But I think that this just barely nudges ahead of Duke, Kentucky, the Leitner shot. At the very least, it's this generation's Leitner moment. The shot was longer. This was to get into the championship game. Christian's shot was to get into the Final Four. I will give you that Christian's shot had everything riding on it because Duke was down a point when he took it. So, it's hard to come up with anything that you could say was better than that. That anybody that's listening right now has ever seen in terms of college basketball excitement.
Well, in terms of also the backstory, obviously Duke and Kentucky blue bloods at the time, or, you know, obviously Krzyzewski was definitely building something, to say the least, and had already built something. You know, here it's kind of role reversal, right? The blue blood of UCLA is got the glass slipper, and Gonzaga has the chance at history here. And that, too, just UCLA's journey to this point as well, and how well they were playing. My God, I don't know if that game, obviously, if that had rimmed out or not gone in, we wouldn't be talking about UCLA and Baylor tonight, Jim, for real.
Well, how about the charge call with 0.7 seconds to go in overtime? The entire game rested in the hands of the official. If he calls that a block call, you're sending Juzang to the line with 0.7 of a second to go and makes one free throw. You know, UCLA is going to be in the championship game. I mean, and they called it a charge. So, I mean, the game, the split-second difference here and there is just amazing. And I'm just so happy to have been able to share it with Grant and Raft, and we have such a fun time together. The three of us. Unfortunately, with the protocols and all, we haven't had our normal March togetherness. We haven't had a meal together. We haven't been allowed to leave our rooms except to go to the games. So we've been here for 4 weeks, going back to the Big Ten tournament. And the four walls are closing in on me here a little bit. I can't wait for the game tonight and then hop on a plane and get to Augusta where I can spend a lot of time outdoors.
By the way, I couldn't imagine a better place to break quarantine than Augusta National, Jim.
Well, they're still quarantined. I'm sure. If you will, there are bubbles, but there's definitely a little more freedom to move around. You could go outside, and you will be outside for 12 to 14 hours a day. So that I relish and look forward to. But just to have that moment, when you're calling a game like that, and everybody has their own style and approach to it. And my style, whether I'm working with Romo on football, working with Tony, or I'm working with Grant and Bill on baskets, I want to give them room. Or Faldo on golf. I want them to be able to have the freedom to be themselves and not be overly territorial about it. It's a visual medium. I like being a conversational play-by-play guy versus a guy who's identifying every pass, rebound, and shot. Anybody can do that. And so I like to get into the discussion arena and bring with it context, perspective, and framing in terms of history. So what I heard, just hear you guys play it back, was a reaction that probably was very similar to what was going on in the Eisen living room. Yeah. You know, with the iPad put down, you and your son were probably jumping up and down and hugging and rolling on the floor. I mean, we were pretty close to doing that ourselves. We were talking at the same time, which is okay. Sure. I mean, at the moment, you can't script it. And I was proud to be able to set it up that Gonzaga had time to do something and for the win, and then we all reacted the way we should. And again, it's not maybe classical standalone play-by-play guy. I wouldn't want it that way. I'm a team guy, and I like the shared moment, and to be able to then get it back, and within 3 seconds, I would be able to say that Gonzaga's perfect season is still intact. It's still on go. I'm really proud of that orchestration between the three of us, that we got so much in there, and you have no idea something like that's going to happen, and it's epic. I mean, that Suggs he's going to go on and have. I'm sure he'll be one of the first picks in the draft this year, and he'll go on and have a fabulous career. You can tell the kid's super talented, but I don't care what he does, he's always going to be reminded of that shot. That shot's going to be something he's going to be wearing with him as far as pride for the rest of his years.
Jim Nantz here on the Rich Eisen Show, and I'm wondering if, and I understand what I'm about to say sounds like hyperbole on its face, but hopefully everyone will hear me out here. Is I'm wondering if this is one of those sports moments, like the Miracle on Ice, like the Buckner play, where everyone years from now will assume it was for the championship, and it was not, and that there's
very good point.
There's another game, and that's tonight. And I'm wondering if that is going to be potentially a factor this evening. Jim, what do you think?
Well, you've got to come back to earth, that's for sure, if you're Gonzaga, and that happened almost at the strike of midnight on Saturday night. So you got a really quick turnaround physically and even more importantly emotionally. And Baylor is so good; it's really indecipherable to me to tell you which team's better, or it's just to try to find the difference between the two of them. So it was workmanlike and unmemorable, really, the way Baylor dominated my alma mater, Houston, on Saturday. They were clearly the better team, and that's who they are, and that's how they're going to play tonight. So I do think this. I do think, if you want to say pay it off, if you want that moment to have the legs that you spoke of, Miracle on Ice, the Buckner play, well, I'm going to more directly associate it with USA Russia, and then coming back and playing Finland.
Yep.
People forget they had to play Finland for the championship.
That's right.
Because the Russia game was in the semifinals, and I mentioned to Mark Pugh last night, I actually made this same parallel, looking for context. And I said, you guys have got to come back and you got to do the equivalent. You've got to beat, like the USA hockey team did, you got to beat Finland. He said, Jim, Baylor's a lot better than Finland.
You know what?
I'm going to use that line tonight. It's
go
so
for
good,
it.
But,
of course. There's no question about that.
I gave it to you first, my man. You got it first.
I will take the Jim Nantz exclusive and run with it, and make sure everybody understands that when they hear that tonight on CBS. And, your great friend Al Michaels on the call of that, back in 1980, he tells the story, and maybe this is something Mark Few can take the page out of Herb Brooks. He said Herb Brooks told the team, in the intermission, down 2-1 going into the third period against Finland, you lose this, you'll take this to your graves. Like that everything that happened before. Now, obviously, that might be something particularly strenuous to say to a bunch of youngsters, but so are those kids at Team USA. It is something tonight that Baylor could use to its advantage, saying, okay, everybody's sleeping on us. We just blew out Houston, and let's go. And I'm wondering what you think the matchup looks like tonight. What are you guys talking about in your meetings beforehand? What do you think here?
If Gonzaga has its legs, Rich, this should be up and down the floor, kind of like the UCLA game was. We're talking about the highest scoring team in college basketball this year in Gonzaga. Baylor's I believe the sixth highest scoring team. Baylor's the best Baylor has the best 3-point field goal percentage. Gonzaga has the best overall field goal percentage. They make shots. They take shots quickly. They're up and down the floor. I mean, I think the game is just going to be great. We've wanted this game all year long.
Mm-hmm.
It took 4 months for it to happen. They were here in this very city on December the 5th. And 90 minutes before the game got shut down because a member of the basketball delegation for the Zags and a player tested positive in the Marion County. This is a Marion County town here. The health commissioner closed down the game. That was CBS's season opener, and now it'll be CBS's season ender. And it's 4 months to the day later. Here we go. And it's interesting. The game was actually programmed in concert with someone at CBS named Bess Barnes. She's remarkable. She's a programmer, puts a lot of our basketball schedule together with Dan Weinberg. They're great part of CBS. You never hear about them. They're programmers. They have unbelievable relationships, and they got together and thought, well, these two teams are going to be 1 and 2. And then Scott Drew and Mark Pugh are great pals, and they said, we need to do this because college basketball needs us to do this. We didn't have a tournament last year. We need to do this because it's what's right for the game. So they scheduled the game. All of those folks got together, hooked up on the phone, and the game never happened. As it turns out, as fate would have it, it does actually happen. It happens on the last game of the season.
And again, it's just a sense of normalcy that we're thrilled to see, even though the stands are clearly abnormal, and it's just the fact that the tournament's going off and is ending tonight. Knocking on wood without the proverbial hitch. We're all pleased to see it. And then you, Jim Nantz, head off to Augusta National. What do you think the story of the week at Augusta National is going to be with the Masters back in April?
Well, the first 2 or 3 days that I'll be at Augusta, the main thing as far as the story that I'll be in conversation with the players, doesn't matter who it'll be, will be the Suggs shot. That's all they're going to talk to me about.
Love that.
I know they were all watching. It happens every year. I try to transition, try to get into their minds and start rounding up some fresh information on the world's top players. And invariably, they want to talk to me about the NCAA tournament. So that will be the story.
Love it.
For a couple more days. But the story of the golf event will be back 5 months later, actually 1 week shy of 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's that quickly turned around on the calendar. You've got DJ, Dustin Johnson, going for 2 green jackets in that span. Can he do it? You got Jordan Spieth riding high.
Yep.
All roads have been leading to him winning. Bless him, he did it yesterday. I mean, it's just fantastic to see all of that go away, all that talk and chatter about how he can't, he's done, whatever. The mean-spirited stuff that was heaped on his shoulders, that's behind him now. He comes to a place where he's not only won, he's finished second a couple of times. He knows how to get around Augusta. That's going to be a great story. And who knows what else? You still got out there McIlroy, who has been a little bit off lately and has made a swing coaching change. He's going for the career Grand Slam. You forget that. This is like his 3rd or 4th attempt at going for the career Grand Slam. So there's an abundance of stories. I can't wait to identify them. Can't wait to drop in and just get lost in the moment down in Augusta. And, it's Monday of championship night, and the start of Masters Week is always one of the most fascinating days of my year, probably the most fascinating, because you've got the excitement, the jitters, the anticipation of what's about to happen tonight. You're about to call your 15th game in 23 days. You've prepared. You've talked to everybody. You're going to walk into that arena and realize all that history that's on the line. Meantime, I'm packing up. I'm putting stuff in boxes to ship home. I bought so much stuff. I basically had an apartment set of it since I wasn't really able to barely leave my room. And, so I'm into logistics. I'm into trying to have this in my head tonight, the grandeur of it, get some thoughts in my head about the framing of this moment tonight, whichever way it goes. And then next thing you know, tomorrow I land at Augusta. It's 84 degrees, and I'm at this place that I can only dream of as a little boy, and I never take it for granted.
It's amazing, Jim. It's just truly remarkable. And, of course, life is so damn short, as we saw with Tiger just a couple of weeks ago. What do you hear about him? I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversation about him, certainly at one point during the broadcast. Are you hearing anything about his recovery right now?
No, it's been really, truly, it's been that information has been held pretty tight, and that's just the way Tiger wants it. As you know, I had the last interview with Tiger some 36 hours before his accident. He joined me on the air in the final round at Riviera for the Genesis Open. He was kind enough to hang in there for 12 minutes. And, well, I got to tell you this story. I've got to tell you this story.
Okay.
So you check in with someone that's going to join you during a commercial break. You make sure their headset's on. Can they hear you? Are their levels good? This and that. So we had the perfunctory, hey, Tiger, how you doing? Can you hear me? Good, yeah, all good. Hey, congratulations. This was an anniversary year for his Tiger Woods Foundation. Checked in. Hey, can you stay for a while? We're going to try to bob and weave the interview in with some live golf. Good, I'm good. I've got all kinds of time. Great. Yeah, I'll do a segment with you guys. Perfect. Stand by. Here we go. So now next thing you're on the air. And, you're asking Tiger questions about his foundation and how it's his health. And then I started to get into, is he coming back for Augusta? And again, we cut away a few times, and he's still talking over some of the important shots with Max Homa and all the contenders that were taking place. Now it comes time to say goodbye. And one of the last things I asked him, would we see him at Augusta 7 weeks from now? He said, God willing, I'll be there, which is a little eerie now that you hear it. And then I said, would you play a tournament running up to it just to have a rep? He said, all that I don't know. I'm waiting to see what the doctors say. Well, Tiger, thanks for being with us. And it's great to see you again. We hope to see you down at Augusta. At that time, Sellers Shai, our producer, our esteemed producer, puts up a graphic that shows Sam Snead, 82. Tiger Woods, 82 wins. Jack Nicklaus, 73. So this panel is on the screen. So I'm reacting to it. So I look at it, again, just recall whatever, a sense of history that I've been blessed with by the man upstairs, and I'm grateful for that. I said, hey, Tiger, take a look at this. So I just said, Tiger, thanks for being with us. Hey, you got it. Oh, Tiger, take a look at this. There you are with Sam Snead, 82 wins. And here's a story that maybe you don't even know, that when you first debuted on the PGA Tour as a 16-year-old, Sam Snead was the tournament honoree that week in 92 here at Riviera. And he was on the program. They had an oil painting presentation inside the clubhouse. And when you played, Sam Snead came down the hill and watched you play the entire 10th hole. He was in your gallery behind the ropes. He stood behind you when you hit your tee shot off of 11 and then made his way back up the hill to the clubhouse. And who could have ever known that day there would be this fateful confluence of Sam Snead and Tiger Woods, two guys that are now linked with 82 wins all time. It's an amazing story. And about that time, Steve Milton, our director, said, Jim, hold on a minute. We're in commercial. I said, wait, what do you mean? He said, the sellers linked to you went down. We went to commercial a long time ago. I said, what about this whole story I just dropped on Tiger about Sam Snead? He says, nobody at home heard a word of it. We left when you said, thanks, Tiger, for being with us. And all of a sudden, Tiger comes on and says, wait a minute. None of that ever got on the air. And Milton says, none of it, not a word. And Tiger says something like, man, that's too bad. That was some really good, you know what? That was really good stuff, okay? That was some really good stuff. That was unbelievable. He said, how did you know that? I said, I actually had written a story a few years ago in Golf Digest about it, researched it, found it in some files, and he said, man, I wish you guys would come back with that. And, of course, you come back, you got to get back to covering the golf tournament. I thanked him, but that was the last thing that he said. He was so bummed that story about Sam Snead following him around 2 holes in competition when he was a 16-year-old. It didn't make the light of air, as we say. We were gone.
Well, maybe you could tell the story at some point during the Masters, giving him a shout out. I'm sure he'll be out there watching. I assume.
We'll definitely, I'm sure, have several moments where we will be bringing up Tiger. I mean, after all, when again you're dealing with history and context, I mean, there's hardly anything around there that doesn't remind you of a feat of Tiger's in the past. So you can't plan it. It's a reactionary thing. We're there to show golf, and I'm sure any number of times there will be an occasion where there's a shot that's similar to something he's pulled off before, or some historical context that I'll need to make the parallel with Tiger and a given player for this week. So we wish him well. I wish I had an update for you. I'll just say this. I have nothing to base this on except having a pretty good understanding of what's inside that man's heart. I've been around him for the great majority of his 82 wins. High 50s, I think it's 57 or so wins, maybe something like that. I know I've been for 9 of his 15 majors on the call, walking him up the 18th. I can't speak to his x-rays, his surgeries. I can only speak to his heart. And if there's anyone that could ever come back from this, I'm betting on Tiger, and I don't think we've seen the last of him.
You're the best, Jim Nantz. Truly appreciate it. Have a great time tonight. Have a great Masters week. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.